Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you are able to hear me.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Good morning,
perfect.
sir.
Very
Yes.
good, very good morning. So for few days only, it is going to start at 8:10. But once the batch is frozen, then we are going to start at exactly 8 o'clock. Okay, 8 to 9. I'm going to take regularly from Monday to Saturday. Okay, so in the last session, I just walk you through the content of the course. So what we are going to discuss as part of the course that we have seen, only content we have seen, right? So in the initial days, I'm going to spend the time with the DPs 900. So which is specifically for basics, the people who are going to process the data. Only for data processing related stuff we are going to have as part of this to understand the context of the data. So how exactly Microsoft is preparing the data, or how exactly they're handling the data, or what kind of data we're having. So what services are there, and how we can set up the services that we're going to talk. So here 50-50, 50% theory and 50% practical will be there. But I can also go completely theory, but so I don't want to go through that like in that way. So I'm going to take you through 50% is theory and 50% is practical. But this DP 900 is purely theory. Okay, so to understand the context of the data processing. And to make you little more comfortable, apart from this DP 900, I'm also that's what I'm saying. The reason why I'm saying this 50% is practical is because I'm also going to show you how we can set up the resources before before starting the data engineering stuff. Before starting a data engineering stuff, I wanted to make you much more comfortable to set up the resources for the data engineering, because we have to practice ourselves. In real time, we are not going to create any service. Let's say if I wanted to create a ADF, I don't need to create a ADF in real time. But here, in order to practice your activities, you have to know how we can set up this data factory. And you have to know how we can set up the ADLS Gen 2. And whatever the service is required, that is our responsibility to set up in our practices. If you don't set up in your system, then you cannot do the practice. If you don't do the practice, then your aim is not going to be succeeded. So in order to do all these things in the starting itself, I'm going to take you through little practice things also. But major practice that we're going to do is after completion of the DP 900. So where we are going to talk completely specific to the data engineering. Okay, so I hope you're understanding my point. So if anyone is planning to do the DP 900 certification after completion of this week, you can attempt it. I'll give a dumps also for this. I have a dumps, and once this is completed, go through the dumps and attempt your DP 900. So before going to the DP 700, I recommend to go with the DP 900 certification. Okay. So let me take through my documentation so that you can understand how exactly it is going to be there. This is specifically DP 900 I just prepared. And before going to anything, first you need to understand why we need to go for cloud. Why we need to go for cloud. We're already having a systems, right? We're already having a on-prem. So when you're already having a on-prem systems, why we need to go for cloud? When your on-prem is satisfying your business requirement, then why we are going? There are many reasons are there to go for it. Okay, so let's take an example. If you take a power station, if you wanted to get a power to your home, we are not going to have a power station from our side, right? If you take my home, I don't have a power station. I don't need to generate the power. Something happened. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah. So we don't need to generate it. But if you wanted to have a power, basically on-prem is nothing but everything in your premises. Everything should be in your premises is known as your on-prem. So power station also is in your control. So that kind of systems we can call it as a on-prem. So I don't have a budget to have a power station from my side. Okay, I don't have a budget. So instead of having our own power center, what we are going to do is we are going to use a power from someone else. So that is what it is. So if you go for if you see this one, in the same way, the reason why I'm saying this example is previously we used to handle all these things from our side. I mean, the companies used to take care about it. If you apply the same thing, I'm talking about generic thing, if you apply the same thing to the systems, then we need to have a separate data centers. So many companies are not ready to have their own data centers. The olden days I'm talking. So because of that reason, virtualization came into the market. Okay, so there are many people were there to save their resources directly from their companies. So that is what previously the data centers were there. Like data center means like you're going to have a storage and hard disks. Okay, so RAM is going to be there. All those things are going to be there as part of your data center. So someone is going to provide all these things and we are going to utilize it. So this kind of data centers in the past, but how exactly they used to give is irrespective of your usage, they're giving it. When I take a license for this, you have to pay whether you use it or not. Even if you use 1 hour, you have to pay for entire license period. Let's say you're taking license for 1 year. You have to pay for 1 year, whether you use it for 1 day or not. You may not use all the resources also. You decided to have some resources based on your initial estimation, but you're not in a position to utilize all of them, but still you have to pay. So that is how the previous days were there. So later, virtualization came into picture, as I said. So this is completely like, what we can say. Even this one also, when you compare with your on-prem, this is less when you compare with on-prem. But still, you have to pay many things. So high upfront cost is required, monthly expenses, even if you're not using. So when you take a data center from some company, let's take you're taking a data center from TCS. Even if you take a data center from the TCS, you have to pay, even if you're not using. And if I wanted to scale up my resources, I cannot scale up because this is not in my control. I need to reach out these people and they're going to scale up it behalf of you because everything controlled by them. And you're utilizing the resources. So maintenance is required. Okay, so monthly maintenance also is required, like because you're taking the resources from someone else, but still you have to maintain from your side. Okay, so this is also is little more cost. Because of that reason, this cloud compute came into picture. Instead of paying for entire license period, we can pay whatever you're going to use it. Whatever you're going to use, for that only you're going to pay. Now just observe here. So the way I'm going to take a power from the power station, like from the government, in the same way, you can have all the services at one place and you can use it. So these are all completely public cloud. These are all public cloud systems. Pay only what you use. If I use only Azure Data Factory, for sake of knowledge, I'm saying, if you use only Azure Data Factory, you can pay for only Azure Data Factory. That means not only that, this ADF I'm using for only 1 hour, then pay for only 1 hour. So that means you're doing data processing only 1 hour. So when you're doing data processing only 1 hour, so you're going to pay for only 1 hour. So because of that reason, people are going forward people are going to the cloud system. Because we have a pay as you go. So pay as you go model is available in all the cloud platforms in the market. Okay, so that is what it is. But if you go for on-prem, you have to pay even if you don't use it. And no maintenance is required. If I go for data factory, I'm not installing any software. So I don't need to manage from my side. So Microsoft itself is going to take care about run and maintenance of the services. So they categorize the fee services as a managed services and fee services as a unmanaged services. So as a data engineer, we are going to be there with only managed services. So that means managed by Microsoft or managed by cloud vendor. And scaling, expand, storage, and compute power can be taken care with just few clicks. With just clicks. If I wanted to increase the compute, I can increase whenever I required. And if I wanted to decrease the compute, I can decrease whenever I want. So when you feel there is a more demand for your business, then you can increase the compute. And if you wanted to decrease once that is completed, then you can decrease so that we can save the cost. When you go for virtualization or when you go for on-prem, the cost is not going to be like that. You have to pay for entire license period if we are taking a virtualization from the private data centers. Or if you have your own data center, then it's in a different again. So you have to pay, you have to buy all the servers, all the systems by yourself. And you have to set up everything by yourself. But when you go for cloud computing, someone is going to take care about all the stuff and you're just going to use it. If I need a virtual machine from the cloud computing, I can take it. I wanted to take a virtual machine for 1 month. Just take it. After 1 month, you just remove it. I wanted to take a database for 1 month. Just take it. Use it. Do your processing. Get some output. And do your analysis. My analysis is done by 1 month. My requirement is only for 1 month. Just imagine. So for 1 month, we don't need to have own data center. Or for 1 month, we don't need to have a virtualization from the private data center. I mean, VM from private data centers. Okay, so if you can take it from the public cloud, then it is easy because they're providing the pay as you go. So this is the brief idea about it. And let's say, for example, I wanted to start a company. Just take an example. If I wanted to start a company as a startup, are we going to have a more budget? So budget will be less, right? If you're an established company, you may have a budget and you can think in different ways. But there are many companies, startup companies are there. There are many companies as a mid-level companies. Okay, so they're not going to have a budget to have their own data center. And they're also not going to have a budget to take the services from the private data centers. So what is private data centers? We're going to talk very soon. Okay, so to get some idea about it. So in order to start any business, I required storage. Storage is required. Servers are required. Security is required and team is required. The team is going to maintain all this stuff. So all this stuff is going to be maintained by your team. So that means administrator team is required, infra team is required, and software development team is required. And for all these things, you need to have a cooling system and power is required, right? If you wanted to start the business. So it's not easy if you wanted to have your on-prem. But if someone provides the storage for you, then we can take the storage. Let's say, for example, I wanted to do some work in Delhi for office purpose or anything. You just imagine. So I need to travel to the Delhi and I need to stay for 1 month. To stay 1 month in the Delhi, do I need to buy a house? I don't need to buy a house. I can stay in a hotel. right? I can stay in a hotel. I'm going to stay in a hotel for 1 month. So I'm going to pay for 1 month only. So I'm not going to pay for entire year, or I'm not going to pay for entire 2 years or something like that. So because I can pay based on my number of days stayed. So that is what the pay as you go. So once my work is completed, I'm going to vacate the hotel and I can come back to my home. In the same way, even if you go for your any business, we don't need to have everything in your premises. You can take a rent from someone else so that we can reduce the cost. So here to have your own things, to have your own stuff, the problems are there. The problems is upfront cost. So setup cost is more, and more resources are required if the business is succeeded. You started the business and business got succeeded, then definitely you have to go for expanding the business. When you expand the business, ultimately more member of teams are required, and security also you need to increase. The servers also need to increase, storage, everything we need to increase it. So this is little difficult for startup companies. So initial days, this all happened. Now, in order to avoid all those things, if we can go to the cloud computing, we are going to reduce the cost. We don't need to spend more amount of it. So I just given some details here, just go through that. The cloud computing is nothing but you're taking the resources from someone else through the network. You can sit somewhere and you can take the service. I need a database, you can take a database. I need a data factory, you can take a data factory. Or I need a virtual machine, you can take a virtual machine. So what not everything can be taken from the cloud computing. Okay. So cloud computing means internet-based computing. There are many providers are available, like Microsoft is one of the provider, AWS is one provider, Google is one provider. So like that, there are many providers are available to provide the services to you. So you can access the services from the mobile, you can access those services from the laptop, whatnot. Many things can be used to access the services from the cloud. So that is about the briefly about the cloud computing. So we are going to take the services from the cloud. Now, when it comes to the cloud, there are three different types of cloud providers are available in general. But we can have a two different deployment models, we can say. So based on the deployment model, we have a few different types of clouds, and based on the services, we have a few different options. Whenever you're going to take any service, 90% of the time, we are going to take the public cloud only. 90% of the time. Okay, so 90% I can say. And private is the traditional. Private clouds, before this public cloud, there was a private cloud. There are many companies, they used to share their data sources to the customers. Let's say I have some problem. I wanted to get a solution. I reached out to TCS or a Wipro or something like that. So what they used to say is, because this person is not having any data center, this person is not having anything. He has a plan to run the business. He has a plan to success in the business or something like that. So when they reach out them for his problem, so they will collect the requirement. So based on the requirement, based on their budget, they're going to suggest it. So that is what the solution architects are responsibilities is. They're going to talk to the customer and they're going to provide the approach how we can provide the solution to them. So just imagine they will if the customer is having a budget, they will suggest to have their own data center if they have any problems. So if they do not have a budget, if they are fine with to take the resources from the TCS, they can take the resources. Let's say they're asking Oracle database, and they're asking, let's say, I'm just taking an example, say, not Salesforce, let's say SAP or Java. Okay, so something like that, they're going to give some softwares, the request, right? So what these people they do is they're going to give a resources for this particular person from their data center. This is their own data center. These people are going to give a data center to a specific customers. So they're not going to give a data center for every individual. They're going to give a data center for specific persons. So that kind of cloud, we can call it as a private cloud. Now in the market, not even 10% is existed. So not even 10% is with the private data centers. So most of the people are migrated towards to the cloud. Or most of the people are migrating towards to the cloud. Okay, so cloud is much more easier, and the cost is very, very less when you compare with this, because this person is going to give a license for 1 year, whether you use Oracle or not. And again, they have to pay the license for Oracle also. Oracle software license they have to pay. But when it comes to here, this is for, I'm talking about hardware related stuff. So machine related stuff, softwares, again, they have to pay to the appropriate software vendors. And infrastructures, you have to pay for 1 year, whether you use it or not. But when you go for public cloud, we are going to have a more and more features. If I use for 1 hour, you can pay for 1 hour only. So that mechanism is not available in the private cloud. And there is a hybrid also. So hybrid is the combination of these two, is a hybrid. Not 2 to 5% is there with the hybrid. Okay. So 3 different types of cloud deployment models we are having in the market: private cloud, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. So in the certification, they may give some question and they will ask you, so this service comes under which category? Or if I take a service from here, then what happens in the cost wise? So that kind of questions they're going to ask. And based on the services, we have a IaaS services, PaaS services, and SaaS services. As a data engineer, we are going to be part of this. Our data engineering services are there as part of the platform as a services. So how we can set up our services from the platform as a services, we're going to see. So we'll talk about little more details about this one. So whatever I discussed, the same thing is available here. Private cloud, a company is going to provide the services. So let's say I'm just saying TCS and there is a company A. So company A is going to take the services from the private cloud. So these people are having more customers, right? Because there are service providers. So since they're having a service, more companies to provide the service, they may have their own data center. I'm just taking an example. Okay. So company A is taking a service from company's private cloud. So services are accessible only within the organization. If you go for private cloud, only organization can access it. They don't give for individuals, as I said. Okay, so just go through these points. You can understand how this private cloud is going to work. So this is only for understanding. We are not going to set up anything for this. And then we have a public cloud. So public cloud this public cloud is going to give a services to company A, company B, and company C, and even to individual also. I also can take the services from here. It is going to be open for everyone, and pay as you go model is there here. And we don't need to maintain anything. We don't need to maintain any cooling system. We don't need to maintain power center. They have their own power center. They have their own cooling system. They have their own info team. Everything will be taken care. If you take a ADF, we are not going to install anything for ADF. We are not going to install anything for ADF or any service. So if there is any upgrades, they're going to take care upgrades from their side only. So we don't need to take care about it. Okay, so hybrid cloud is not required to talk about it because that is combination of this public cloud and private cloud. Okay. So this points, whatever I'm going to talk, this is basically this will be helpful if anyone is going to work as an architect level, because the cost efficiency is very important. Reducing the cost is very important. How exactly we can reduce the cost, that will be helpful here. Let me talk about the characteristics of cloud computing or Microsoft Azure. I just wanted to say. So since we are talking about Microsoft Azure, I'm just talking about scalability. So scalability is also is one of them, one of the option that we are going to see. Even when we are talking about the Spark, we are going to talk about the cluster. So cluster means collection of systems. When you have a collection of systems, how exactly the scaling is going to be happen? In the olden days, we used to scale up our system capacity vertically. We're going to previous days. Let's say, for example, I have a laptop, right? If I wanted to increase a compute, I have to increase a RAM, I have to increase the storage, or you may go for processor also, right? So even if I increase for my single laptop, you are going to have some limit. Okay, so limitation will be there. Okay, so scaling in terms of CPU, memory, and storage, as I said here. So this is not the best practice. This is not going to give a better performance. But if you scale your resources horizontally, then it is going to improve huge performance. That is what the Hadoop does. Hadoop introduced this cluster horizontally. Okay, so prior Hadoop we used to scale up the resources vertically. So that is not going to improve the performance when you upgrade the resources horizontally, then it is going to improve the performance. Our Spark cluster is going to be there horizontally. And ADF also is going to have a Spark cluster. And your ADLS also is going to have a cluster. The cluster is nothing but collection of systems. So if you want to increase the number of missions, you can increase the number of missions. If you want to decrease the number of missions, you can decrease the number of missions with just clicks. By just doing a clicks, we can do it. So how we can do increasing the number of clusters in the Databricks, we are going to see. In the database also, we are going to see. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the database. So I wanted to increase the number of compute, and if you want to decrease the compute, how we can do it? With just clicks, we can do. But if you want to do the same thing in on-prem, it's going to take a minimum 1 week. Minimum 1 week will take to increase the compute. So scalability is important. The scalability is very faster when you go for a cloud, as it is a just few clicks. And then elasticity also. The elasticity means like you have to use the resources at the right time. Okay, elastic is ability to scale dynamically. Let's say, for example, I have a demand at some point of time, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then, so that particular point of time, I have a more demand. And in some point of time, I have a less demand. If you take this diagram here, I have a less demand here. But here I have a more demand. So I need a more resources here, and here I have a less resources, and here I have a less resources. So depends on the requirement, the resources are going to be expanded automatically, and we can auto scale it. So automatic scaling is possible when you go for cloud computing. So elasticity is one of the feature from the cloud. And agility, as I said, if I wanted to set up the resources, so there is a one concept in the Databricks, a Databricks bundle. Okay, so if you wanted to push all the resources at one shot, you can push it. So for example, to understand, I have a one database, I have a one Databricks, I have a one ADF, something like that. You have it. If you want to set up all the resources with just in 2 minutes, that you can do it in the cloud. Because we are going to have an automated script. Basically, this will be taken care by administrators. If I need a setup for development, if I need a setup for prod, all the resources they're going to set up with just one hit, they're going to set up it. But if you go for cloud, if you go for on-prem, it is going to take days and days to do it. I have a given comparison here. If it is taking a days, this is wrong here. It has to go for vice versa. So this is a on-prem and this is a cloud. There is a issue here. This is a on-prem and this is a cloud. So if cloud is taking a days, if on-prem is taking a days and cloud is going to take a seconds. And if it is taking a weeks, it is going to take a minutes. And if it is taking a month, then that you can do it in hours in a cloud. So to set up this one, it is going to take less time. So as quickly as we can set up all the resources. And fault tolerance also is going to be handled by your cloud. So we don't need to take care about all those things. It will be taken care by replication. We are going to talk about for data engineering. Also, we need to have this replication. So there is a redundancy, LRS and GRS. We have a few redundancies are there just for understanding. So we are not going to work with that. When you go for certification, that time it is going to be helpful. So how they're going to maintain the replication to avoid losing of the data. Let's take an example. If you have a one database, same database is going to be replicated in somewhere. In my project, we are using GRS, Geo Redundant Storage. So Geo Redundant Storage, the same database will be available in other place also. So that if one location is affected, I can take the data from other location. So high availability is going to be supported by handling the fault tolerance and disaster recovery. Just read out this point that will be helpful for certification if you're going for it. And capital expenditure and operational expenditure will be there. So when you have your own data center, then you are going to spend many things here. So capital investment is more. And operation cost will be less once your setup everything is done, then operational cost will be less when you compare when you go here. But when you go to the cloud, then we don't need to spend more amount for capital investment. So capital investment is very less when you compare with on-prem. So in on-prem we have to spend a lot of things. So just go through this one will be helpful. And this one also is not required all these things. Okay, so let me show you. I'm just going to take one one service, that is ADLS. So ADLS is one of the storage that we are going to use frequently from our side. If I wanted to take the service, you are going to take the service from some region. Okay, so region 1 or region 2 or some regions you're going to take it. So let me show you that first. I'll come through these points. I'm just trying to take you through how exactly the reasons are going to be there. Storage accounts plus create. So here is the reason. I have a many reasons here. Microsoft is providing the various reasons to take the services. Okay, so That region may have one data center, that region may have a multiple data centers. And those regions are going to be interconnected within the region, the data centers will be interconnected. So that is what I'm just trying to say here. So a region is having one data center here. One region can have a two data centers, and another region may have a more than two data centers also. Every service is going to be part of some region. So here I'm trying to take a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Or if you take another service, SQL Server, and SQL Server also is required a region. You can see here. Somewhere it is. Yeah, here it is. Not this one. Let me give some database name. Let's see. So in central India, the server when I create it, it is going to ask you to location. You can see here. Here also we have a locations. That means location is nothing but a region. Okay, so from where you wanted to take the service is going to be talk about your region. And if you take a data factory, for data factory also is required a location. You can see here. So region is available. So for every service, region is required. That region may have one data center. That region may have a multiple data centers. We have a control on the region. We can choose the region. Like for me, central India is the nearest location. So I can take a central India. And taking a nearest location is the recommended to reduce the cost, and it reduces network charges. And when the data is moved within the same data center, there will be faster performance. And if you take a very long data center or region, then it is going to take more time to process it. So because of that reason, when you take a ADLS and ADF, all are going to be there within the same location. I mean, within the same region. So region is required for every data center. So we have a availability zones. I'll talk about it. So just go through this documentation if you want it. And resource manager also. At the time of redundancy, I'm going to talk about how we can have a like zones. Okay, so how exactly the data is going to be stored in the different zones. I'll talk about it that particular point of time. So when you are working as a data engineer, we require services, right? ADF is required. ADB is required. So these services are going to fall under in which category? So all the cloud providers are categorized their services into three categories. Okay, so every cloud vendors or most of the cloud vendors categorized the services into three categories. One is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So software as a service means we don't need to maintain anything. We don't need to maintain anything like a Gmail. If you take a Gmail, we don't need to install operating system. We don't need to install even Gmail. We don't need to set up anything. We can directly use it. And there is from Microsoft, there is a Fabric. We're going to talk about as part of our sessions. The Fabric also, we can directly use it. We don't need to set up anything. We don't need to start the server. So everything is going to be there directly. We can use it. So Microsoft Fabric is a software as a service. And Microsoft Power BI services there. Maybe if you're having some idea about PBI, So there is a Power BI service. We are not going to install Power BI service. And Microsoft Teams, of course, Teams we are going to install in desktop, but we can use directly, right? So we don't need to take care about it. It's like a one service because SharePoint, this Teams is there in the cloud also. Okay, so that is a software as a service. But our services are going to fall under platform as a services. We have to, I mean, Microsoft is going to provide a platform to you, and you're going to use that platform to provide the services. So I wanted to provide a solution for my big data. So if you want to provide a solution for the big data, then you require a platform. I require a data factory. So I don't need to have an operating system for data factory. No operating system for Databricks. So for all the platform as a services, we don't need to have a operating system. We don't need to upgrade anything. If I take a database from the platform as a service, let's say presently for SQL Server, we have a 2022 version. If there is any upgrade in the future, let's say 2024, if they are going to come up with the 2024, we don't need to upgrade it. Automatically, it is going to be upgraded. So if there is any changes, UI changes or anything in the ADF, we don't need to set up it. We don't need to take care about it because all the platform as a services are managed services. All the services from the platform as a services are managed services. So managed services means managed by Microsoft. And when it comes to here, infrastructure as a service, they're giving an infrastructure to you. They're giving a system, and you can install in your own operating system. Operating system also you can control. So that this color is you manage and this color is Microsoft manages. So operating system you can install Oracle, and you can install SAP, something like that. Every required software you can take care if you go with the infrastructure as a service. As a data engineer, we are not going to be part of it. And as a data engineer, we are going to be part of platform as a service. Previously, we are not part of the software as a service, especially when we go for Microsoft services. Since we are going to be part of Fabric, we're also going to be part of this. But if you don't have a Fabric, then we are not going to be part of this. Previously, I used to say we are going to be part of platform as a service. Now, for this particular training, since we required Microsoft Fabric, we are going to be called as a Fabric data engineers in the future. So I'm going to say we're also going to be part of software as a service. We are going to use Fabric. So for time being, we just ignore this one. Most of the services we are going to be part of platform as a service. So we have to set up the platform to provide the service for your big data. So how we can create a data factory, how we can create a Databricks, all the data engineering services, we are going to take care how we can set up it as part of the training. Okay, so that is whatever I talk that is there in this particular place. So you can just go through these points. And this is a platform as a service. And we are going to be part of platform as a service. Now I'm just talking about specific to Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is providing the services, 3 varieties of the services we are getting it. As I said, from Microsoft Azure, okay. So from Microsoft Azure, we are getting all the services. We are getting a SaaS services, IaaS services, and PaaS services. My pen is not coming. Let me just give me a minute. 1 minute, please. I'm just taking a pen. Yeah, I got it. So cloud computing. So Microsoft Azure is providing all the services. We have a PaaS services, we have a IaaS services, and SaaS services. So they will ask, they will give some service name, and they will ask you this service under which platform it is going to get. So that you need to identify that. Okay, so since we are talking about data processing, so they will ask only data processing services. So ADF comes under PaaS services. So Fabric comes under SaaS service. ADLS comes under PaaS service. Okay, so virtual machine. So virtual machine comes under IaaS services because you're taking a compute from the IaaS. I mean, you're taking an infrastructure and you're going to take your own services, whatever the services you wanted to take it. So the benefits of the cloud, we discussed about it. So scalability, flexibility, cost efficiency. So less cost will be there, and fault tolerance, disaster recovery. So all those things are going to be provided by cloud vendors. So from here, it is important for us. If you want to take any service from Microsoft Azure, then you need to have an account. First, account is required. If you don't have an account, you cannot take the services. Since Microsoft is having a too many services, how you're going to run and maintain from your side? So Microsoft is selling many services, but you need to arrange the services, right? You just start from the bottom. I required a data factory, or I required a storages. Just imagine you're providing the services to many companies, you're having same services, same data factories for multiple people, or same storage accounts for multiple people, or within the same organization itself, you required multiple data factories. So for us, we required 3 data factories, guys. One is for development, one is for QA, and one is for prod. So 3 data factories we required, and 3 SQL servers will be required. So whatever we required, that three we are going to take it because 3 environments we are going to have it. Now, if you want to take any service like this, you required account. If you don't have an account, then you cannot take it. If you don't have an account, you cannot take the service from the Microsoft Azure. So in order to create an account, we required credit card. If you don't have a credit card, then you cannot take a service. Okay. So whatever the account is going to have, that account is going to have what we can say, this naming standard is management group or managed group. Let's say management group. For every account, there is a root management group. By default, it comes. So let me show you with my account so that you can understand how exactly it is going to be there. So this is a Microsoft portal, and we have a varieties of the services we're having here. This is a portal menu, and this particular place we can say it is a global search, and frequently used services we can have it here. And when you create a first time account, I'll show you how we can create an account. And when you have a first time, you're not going to have anything. Once you started utilizing the services, you're going to get all these things here. Okay, so in my data factory, I have many things here. You can see. Okay, so something like that, it is going to be there. Now, if we go to my account, let's go to subscription. You can see it. Tenant root group. So root group is going to be there. So by default, it is going to get it. So that is what it is. Every account is going to have a one management group. So that is root management group I wanted to say. So under management group, you're going to have a subscriptions. So subscription is required for every service. If you don't have a subscription, then you cannot create a service. Because the subscription decides how much bill is going to get it. So bill will be decided by the subscription. Okay, so under management group, you will be having multiple subscriptions, subscription 1, subscription 2, subscription 3, and so on. And this is again one more management group I'm having it. Let's say management group 1, something like this. And here you have a one management group. Root management group can have a multiple management groups and multiple subscriptions. So why this is going to be happen is to provide better governance. So this is completely related to administrators. We are not going to be part of this. We are not going to be part of it. This will be taken care by administrators. And there is a one more part when you go to the subscription. Under the subscription, you can have a resource groups. A resource group is a container, a bucket, where we are going to have a required resources. So simply I can say collection of resources is nothing but resource group. A resource is a service. A data factory is a resource. Your SQL server is a resource. Or ADLS Gen 2 is a resource. So when you bundle together, that we can call it as a resource group. So if you want to take a data factory, you need to know how we can create a resource group for practicing. So we are going to see that how we can create a resource group. Okay. So when you come to here, I have a various options to create a resource group. Okay, for practicing, we are going to do it, right? So resource group. So can be created in two ways. One is by using service, you can create it by using resource group service. So this is also is one of the service. We can create a resource group by using its own service. And other is while taking the service also we can create a while taking a service, we can create a resource group. We can create a resource group while taking a service. For example, it's a one-time activity. Creating a resource group is one-time activity. But basically for data engineers, this resource groups will be created based on the environment. Let's say, for example, we are having a development environment. For development, we are going to have a one resource group. For QA, we are going to have one resource group. And for prod, we are going to have a one resource group. So when it comes to the data engineers, you have to know how we can create a resource groups for these three environments. We are going to say at the time of project, we are going to have these three different environments. So they will ask in the interview. So if they ask in the interview, you have to say how these resources will move from dev to QA and QA to prod. So resource creation is not our job in real time. I'm going to show you these three different environments with UI, but administrators are going to do with the coding. Okay, so there is a ARM templates will be there, Azure resource management templates. By using that, they're going to define all the services and they're going to push the code. They can change the configurations because dev configuration is different and QA configuration is different and prod configuration is different. So how they're going to push the resources from one environment to other environment. That is not our job. Okay, but our job is like ADF code. ADF code will be there, right? So code is there in the development. So how this code is moving from the development to QA? Because data factory is there here, data factory ADF is there here, and ADF is also going to be there here, and ADF is also going to be there here. You created one pipeline here or some pipelines. You have to move these pipelines from this environment to this environment. We are not going to move the data factory. We are going to move the code of the data factory from development to QA and from QA to ADF. Okay, so if they ask how you are having an environment, you have to say we have a resource group for dev, we have a resource group for QA, and we have a resource group for prod. Okay. So how we can create a resource group, I'm just going to show you in two different approaches, and then I'll wind up the session for today. Let's say, for example, I'm just going to take a data factory. Instead of creating a resource group while taking a service, let's go directly. There is a resource group service. If you don't find the service here, you can directly search a resource group. Whatever the service you wanted to take, that you can search from here. So tomorrow I'm going to show you how we can create an account. Let's take a resource groups. I have a various resource groups here, plus create. I told you a resource group is a container that holds related resources for your Azure solution. So I'm just taking Bhaskar-dev-001. I'm just giving some naming standard here. Then it is asking a reason. If you want to take a service, if you want to take any service, minimum things are required. One is subscription is required. If you don't have a subscription, then you cannot take a service from the Microsoft Azure. You cannot take it. So subscription is required. I'm going to show you how we can create a subscription on tomorrow. And resource group name, I'm just entering service name it is, and reason is required. Without reason, you cannot take the service. So subscription is required, a reason is required. These two are mandatorily required to take the resource group. But to take the service, resource group is also required. We'll see that. Let's review plus create and hit on create. So resource group is going to be created. Now you can see resource group is created. Bhaskar-dev-001. I'll create one more resource while creating a data factory. Just observe. We're going to talk more in detail about it. So here my intention is how we can create a resource group. If I have an existing resource, I can take it, or I can create a resource here also. You can see. Bhaskar-dev-002. A resource group is a container, as I said. Let's hit OK. And you can provide the data factory name. You can choose the Central India. So when you take the service, when you take any service like data factory, everyone should know about how we can create a data factory. And resource group is required, subscription is required, and reason is required. These three are mandatory. Without these three, you cannot take any service. And if you're taking data factory, then provide the data factory details. If you're taking database, then provide the database details along with these three details. Okay, so subscription, resource group, and reason. So while taking any service also, you can create a resource group. So how we can create a resource group? There are two different options are there while creating a service. We can do it. So resource group can be created while creating a service, or individual also we can create. So creation of the resource group is one-time job. Okay, so for every project, we can have a dev, we can have a prod, and we can have a QA. So depends on the environment, we can have a resource group, and depends on the types of the services also they're going to maintain. So since we are talking about only data engineer, I just wanted to follow with environment wise. Okay, so just go through this documentation, you can understand. So what management group is going to have it. So I'll talk about all these things. So we'll see how we can create an account on tomorrow so that we can have a better practice with this one. Okay, so I'm stopping here, guys. Any question before stopping? So tomorrow, better to have everyone should have a credit card. So let's create a account on tomorrow itself because navigations are important. Before touching the our actual journey with data engineering, you have to be aware of how we can create a resources, free resources, especially Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, Azure SQL Database, and resource group. So resource group, anyhow, it is one-time job, but these things we are going to do multiple times because these will be used as a sources for a data factory. So navigations are important for me. So for that reason, we required a credit card. Yeah, please go ahead if you have any questions.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yeah.
So while creating this data factory, there was one option called version. What is it, sir?
Yeah. So basically what happened is previously the data factory was having version 1. Okay, before version 2, there is a version 1. Version 1 is coding approach. It was deprecated. No more version 1. Only we have a version 2. It's a UI. If you go for data factory, I think it is already open. So it is completely UI only. Okay. If you take this pipeline, so I'm having completely UI. Right. So this one also we don't need to write a code. But if you want to do this one previously, we used to write a coding only. So that is a version 1. So version 1 is deprecated. So no more version 1. So we have only version 2. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? So whatever I'm talking, guys, this is purely a theory. So more theory will be there. So just ignore all those things, even if you're not interested to go for DP 900. But I recommend just go through that. If you go through this documentation one time, and I'll share the dumps, just go through the dumps. I'll share these 2 dumps. Just read it, only theoretical part only. And then you can go for attempting of the certification. But major sessions, the main sessions are going to start from the next Monday, which is specific to the data engineering. So when I go for that, I'm going to show you everything practically, how we can create a service, and so how exactly the services are going to be there, like something, let me show you, somewhere it is there. Somewhere I kept it. Okay, then I think it is there in the drive. Let me show you here. So we are going to have a complete material like this. So from here, it is going to start basically the major sessions. I mean, which is specific to the data engineering. So when the data factory is started, from there, your actual journey is going to be started from here. Okay. So we are going to see completely end-to-end practical things are going to be started from the data factory. When the data factory is started, keep in mind from there only we have a more and more practical, because If I wanted to move the data from one place to other place, you have to set up the pipeline for this. You cannot just directly go for a theoretical. You have to see completely end-to-end practical as part of this. But this DP 900 only is going to have a mix and mix pieces will be there. Okay, so we'll see. From tomorrow, you'll be having little more practical because we are going to touch the storage accounts as part of this. So storage, how we can do the storage, because as a data engineer, we are going to do the storage and you're going to do the processing. So in the Incel DP900 is going to have a storage part, majorly on the storage part. And then the types of the data we have a structured, semi-structured, unstructured, and what are the different types of file formats are there. So that we are going to talk theoretically, but we are going to see practically more and more from the next Monday. Okay, so do not feel this is completely theory. We are going to have a more practical from the Monday. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead if you have still questions.
Will you provide this theoretical documents?
Yeah. This document will be provided. I'll share in the Google Drive and you can read out from there. Okay. Any other question, anyone? Okay. So thank you for joining. We'll see you on tomorrow.
Okay.